Are vintage guitars better than newer guitars? Yeah, that's what we're going to be talking about today. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe, hit the like button and subscribe, hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any new videos. Okay, so vintage guitars, are they better than newer guitars? I recently saw an article where I think it was Nita Strauss talking about how she doesn't trust vintage guitars, you know, for staying in tune and stuff, and it got me thinking about the whole vintage versus newer guitars thing. So we've all seen Gibsons, you know, from the 50s and 60s, and Fenders, and they go for ridiculous prices. I say ridiculous prices because, well, I'm a very mediocre guitar player, and I doubt that owning a guitar that was made before I was born and costing the same as a house would make me a better player. I mean, it might make me more careful about how I stored my guitars or how up to date my insurance policy was, but a better player? Nah, don't think so. So look, I'm not crapping on vintage guitars, I'm not. I think some of them look exceedingly cool, especially the Gibsons. I love the way Gibsons look. I'm not even a Gibson guy. And I get the fact that they have kind of like an air of mystique about them. You know, God, if this guitar could tell stories, the things it's seen. And I understand the love for guitars that have provenance, you know, oh, this was owned by Jimmy Page or John Lennon or whatever. But does the fact that the guitar is 60 or 70 years old make it a better guitar? So, I mean, first off, back when these guitars, you know, the proper vintage guitars, back when they first came out, they were brand new. And I don't mean they were new guitars, I mean, of course they were new, but guitars in general, they were a new thing, electric guitars. Which is really crazy if you think about it, because not much has changed over the years, especially when we're talking about, you know, Les Pauls and Les Paul Juniors and Fender Strats and Telecasters. It's almost like a Leo and Les Paul got it right first time. Amazing. But back then, things were made differently. They were made by craftsmen. Craftspeople. Cut me some slack, I'm old. But I mean, everything was made by hand, you know, it was carved and sanded by hand. Pickups were wound by hand. I mean, I can only imagine how much work, sweat, toil, craftsmanship actually went into making some of these guitars. I mean, compared to nowadays where everything's just CNC, you just throw a lump of wood into a machine and a computer does the rest. And just because something is, well, handmade, does that necessarily make it better? Right. I just mentioned CNC machines and computers and all those things, and they work now to incredibly small tolerances. The materials, I mean, in a lot of cases these days are better. I'm not talking about plywood and stuff like that, you know, guitars that are just thrown together. But you've got all kinds of new materials. You've got carbon fibre, synthetic bone, specially laminated woods, and the tolerances that they can achieve on, you know, guitars these days it's mind-blowing. And then there's the electrics, the pickups. I mean, you can have a machine wind the pickups for you, the exact number of winds at a particular tension. And then there's active pickups, better magnets. So it still amazes me when people say that old-ass vintage guitars are better than new ones. I mean, when those guitars were made, they were still figuring guitars out. So why are they better? Seriously, I'm not saying new guitars are better than vintage or vintage are better than, you know, I'm not saying that. I'm just like, why do people say this? Jump in the comments and tell me why you think, if you're a vintage guy, why you think vintage guitars are better, if that's what you think, or, you know, why new guitars are better. Now, I do understand that some of these guitars have been played for decades and are nicely worn in, and that makes them play better and sound better. But surely a brand new top of the line Fender should sound, and, you know, like a custom shop, should sound and play better than an OG Fender from the 50s or 60s. I mean, it's had 60 years to be perfected. It's made with the very best, highest quality materials. The electronics are made with all the best stuff. I mean, you can even put it on one of those fancy new Plek machines and get it set up. So why would somebody want an old guitar? over that. I mean, why is the old guitar better? I mean, same thing for the Gibsons. Best wood, best materials, best electronics, best strings, plecked, and still a quarter of the price of a vintage one. And people will still go for the vintage one and say it plays better. I don't know. I just don't understand it. I mean, I've played older guitars, don't get me wrong, and they're cool, but I mean, I don't really own too many older guitars either. Probably one of my oldest guitars is my Washburn N2. I love that guitar. It plays like a dream, and that's like 30 years old or something more. It's not just a great guitar though because it's old. It's a great big guitar. I don't think it could be beat. Until recently, when I was lucky enough to try out the Washburn N4, the modern big brother of the Washburn N2, and it's a better guitar. It's an amazing guitar, and I will no doubt buy one someday. But when I first got my N2, I thought that was the greatest guitar that had ever been made, and I would never find a guitar better than it. But I did, the N4. Now, look, I know dudes that won't even buy second-hand guitars. The guitars they buy have to be brand new. And even though I'm not like that, I do get it. But I've got no beef buying a guitar, no matter how many previous owners it's had. I like the guitar, so I buy it. I don't know, it's impossible to say that vintage guitars are better than newer guitars. Granted, they've got the provenance or the mojo or whatever, but I would have to say that on the whole, most newer guitars are probably better. You know, it's tuning stability, it's stuff like that. But then I guess that every now and then, whatever the time period, a guitar just gets made and it's just an amazing guitar that stands out, and it's just that little bit better than all the other guitars that are exactly the same or something. Anyway, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, do all that YouTube stuff, really helps get the video out there into the algorithm. And don't forget to leave some comments, that also helps. You know, it's great. And you can also help your comments stand out with super chats. I've got some merch for sale, t-shirts and stuff, and you can also become a channel member to help the channel out. Don't forget, stream every Wednesday, 9 PM UK time. Come along and check it out. It's usually just me and some buddies chatting about guitars and stuff. Till the next time, thanks for watching. Peace out.